This lesson is about spheres. You should have the formulas for spheres written on your formula sheet. We did that in class last time. If you did not get it because you were absent, please make sure you get the formulas from someone that was here. So this first one is an example of a sphere. So the first thing they want is the radius. Well, that was given, 6 inches. Then they want the surface area. The surface area of a sphere is 4 pi radius squared. You need to do exponents first, so it's going to be 4 pi times 36. And then you put that in your calculator, and you get 144 pi inches squared. So that's the surface area of the sphere. Think of surface area, think of an orange that you would eat. The peel is the surface area. The actual fruit that you get to eat is the volume. All right, speaking of volume, let's find volume. Volume is 4/3 pi times the radius cubed. So we're going to put 6 cubed in your calculator. So some people are going to put it in your calculator by doing 6 and this caret button and then a 3. Or some of you will put it in your calculator by doing 6 and this button that says y to the x and then 3. Either way, when you do that, you should get 2/16. So we have 4/3 pi times 2/16. Now technically all of these things are over 1. Before we multiply, we want to reduce. Since 3 can go into the radius of 6, then we know that 3 can go into 2/16. So in your calculator, you're going to do 2/16 divided by 3, and you're going to get 72. Okay, so now we're going to multiply straight across the top. 4 times 72 gives us 288 pi, and it's volume, so it's going to be inches cubed. All right, let's try number 2. They gave us the diameter is 10, so that means the radius is going to be 5 feet. The surface area is going to be 4 pi times 5 squared. So that's 4 pi times 25, which would give us 100 pi feet squared. The volume is 4/3 pi times the radius cubed. So use one of those new buttons in your calculator, either the caret or this y to the x button, depending on what you have. So we have 4/3 pi times 5 cubed is 125. Okay, now we're going to check. 3 does not go into the radius of 5, so 3 is not going to go into 125. So we're going to multiply straight across the top. 4 times 125 times pi gives us 500 pi, and on the bottom, 3 times 1 times 3 is 3, and then we get feet cubed because it's volume. All right, now 3 and 4 are different. 3 and 4 are hemispheres as opposed to 1 and 2 that were a full sphere. So now our formula is going to change a little bit, but again, that's on our formula sheet. So on this one, I gave you the diameter is 6, so that makes the radius 3 centimeters. The surface area is 3 pi times the radius squared. So that's 3 pi times 9, which is 27 pi centimeters squared. The volume of a hemisphere is 2/3 pi times the radius cubed. So that gives us 2/3 pi times 27. 3 does go into the radius of 3, so 3 will go into 27. So I can reduce this. And then when I multiply, that leaves me with 18 pi centimeters cubed. So yes, sometimes the number in front of the pi will be smaller for volume than it will be for surface area, because that's okay, because one is centimeters square and the other centimeters cubed. You're measuring two different things. Okay, on number 4, the radius is given to you at 7 yards. So surface area, wrong number, is 3 pi times 7 squared. So we have 3 pi times 49, and 3 times 49 gives us 147 pi yards squared. Volume is 2/3 pi times the radius cubed. Okay, use the new button in your calculator. 7 cubed is 343, so we have 2/3 pi times 343. Okay, 3 does not go into our radius of 7, so 3 will not go into 343. Think of them as all being over 1 and multiply across the top. 2 times pi times 343 is going to give us 686 pi. And on the bottom, 3 times 1 will give us 3. And our unit is yards cubed. All right, now we're talking about the great circle. So look at this sphere in number 3. You got a sphere in number 1, right? And let's say I take that sphere and cut it right down the middle. So it's a hemisphere. And when you look at it, you've got a circle right here, don't you? This circle right here is called the Great Circle. And it's the largest circle that you can cut in a sphere because it goes through the center. So if they give you information about the Great Circle, they're giving you information about the sphere. So in this one, it tells us the circumference is 24 pi. So the first thing we need to do is find the radius. Well, we know circumference is 2 pi times the radius. So we're going to plug in and solve. So that means 24 pi equals 2 pi r. Okay, well the good news is, whoa, what happened? The good news is they both have pi's, so the pi's cancel. So then that leaves you with 24 equals 2 times the radius. So to solve, we'll divide by 2, and the radius is 12. So it's 12 centimeters. Now that we know the radius, now we can plug it in. Now remember, we're finding it for a sphere, so you're going to use your sphere formulas, not your hemisphere. So your surface area is going to be 4 pi times the radius squared. So that gives us 4 pi times 144. So 4 times 144 is 576 pi centimeters squared. The volume is going to be 4/3 pi times the radius cubed. The radius is 12, so we have 4/3 pi times 12 cubed. 12 cubed is 1728. Again, using that button on your calculator, I'm not just memorizing these. Since 3 goes into 12, 3 will go into 1728. So in your calculator, divide it by 3, and you get 576. So we're going to multiply straight across the top. 4 times pi times 576 gives us 2,304 pi centimeters cubed because it's volume. Okay, number 6, it's talking about the Great Circle again. And remember, the Great Circle is yellow highlighted circles. If you take a sphere and cut it to the center, it creates a circle, and that's whatever the radius is of that circle is the radius of our sphere. So it says the area is 81 pi feet squared. Area equals pi r squared. So that means 81 pi equals pi r squared. Alright, well, good thing the pi's cancel. So that leaves us with 81 equals the radius squared. So to solve, we're going to take the square root, so the radius equals 9. So we have 9 feet. Now that we know that, we're going to find surface area and volume. So surface area is going to be 4 pi times the radius squared. That gives us 4 pi times 81. So 4 times 81 is 324. So we get 324 pi feet squared because it's surface area. Volume is 4/3 pi times the radius cubed. So we're going to have 4/3 pi, use your new button, and 729. Now we're going to check. 3 goes into the radius of 9, so 3 is going to go into 729. 729 divided by 3 is 243. So multiply straight across the top. 4 times pi times 243 gives us 972 pi feet cubed. Alright, one last problem on the back. We have an ice cream cone. So we're going to find the volume of the hemisphere on the top and the cone on the bottom, and then we're going to add the whole thing together to get our total volume. Okay, so start. Easy thing. Radius of the hemisphere. That's 12 inches. Volume of the hemisphere. Well, hemisphere we know is 2/3 pi times the radius cubed. So we got 2/3 pi, 12 cubed is 1728. Now we check. If 3 goes into 12, then 3 is going to go into 1728. So we divide 1728 by 3, and we get 576. So now we're going to take 2 times pi times 576, and that leaves us with 1152 pi inches squared. Okay, now we need to find the cone. Well, capital B is the area of the base, so this is the base of the cone. The base is a circle, so we need to find the area of that circle. So the area of a circle is pi r squared. So that's pi times 12 squared, which would be 144 pi inches squared. Height. Height goes from the point to the center of the base. This is the height. Well, they gave us from the top of the ice cream to the bottom. Well, if we think about it, we actually know what this measurement is, even though they didn't give it to us. That is a radius. All the radii in this hemisphere are the same, so this has to be 12. And if it's 36 from top to bottom, and this is 12, to get this height here, we're going to do 36 minus 12, and we're going to get 24. So the height of my cone is 24 inches. Now we need to find the volume of a cone. So if you look on your formula sheet, volume is 1/3 times the base times the height. So it gives us 1/3 times 144 pi times the height of 24. 1/3 of 24 is 8, and 8 times 144 is 1152 pi inches cubed. So now to get the total volume, we're going to add the two volumes together. So, oh, they're both 1152. What are the chances? Not very good. So 1152 plus 1152 pi gives us 2304 pi inches cubed. And we are done. Now your homework mimics this exactly. So do your homework, use your notes as your guide, and practice these on your own. When you get done with both the notes and the homework, turn them into your sub. You can pick up your surface area and volume notes, and then you can take a break. After your break, you can do the second part of the notes.